All right. So it's an amazing morning, and we are here at Conversationally Thriving with Lymphedema, and we have the lovely Kasey with us, who happens to be mom to the amazing little Cora. And I call her little only because, well, let's be honest, she is little right now. But she is amazing, as are you, and we are so excited to be able to have this conversation with you. Now, I say we, the royal we. It's just myself, Deborah Pena, here today, and I wanted to dive in with you. Like, let's not waste any time. Let's get in and understand who you are, where you are, and when was Cora diagnosed with lymphedema?
I am a mother, obviously, but I'm also an in-home daycare provider in southern Minnesota. And Cora was diagnosed with primary lymphedema upon birth. We actually found out 3 days afterwards, and it was on her paperwork. That's how we found out. So
that's not the best way to find out, is it?
No, not at all.
And were you able to kind of absorb that in the moment, or were you just kind of left stranded?
At the moment, I used Dr. Google, obviously, because I would go at no lengths to do anything for Cora, but we had her 1 week checkup, and that's when her doctor, she's been practicing for years, and she said she heard about it before, but that we would be her biggest advocates because it's not well known. And at the time, it was an awakening for us because it's just not something you think would happen. And before you experience this, you almost think that doctors know everything and can handle anything. So when you find that out, it's an awakening.
Sure. And so how old is Cora now?
Cora's 4 years old.
Okay. All right. So that's an interesting and precarious age anyways right now, right?
Very much so. She's becoming her own little girl now, own little woman.
Of course. And I'm sure there are some amazing things that you've been able to teach her. But what do you think is probably the best attribute that you've been able to teach her in relation to dealing with her illness and those people that you might come into contact with?
Yes, we took a little bit of unique approach. For anybody, it's normal when you have people looking and staring because you can't hide it. It's there and it's in your face wherever we go. You want to react and lash out. With us, we've taught her to handle it gracefully and use it as an educational experience. And we always push with her that if people handle it or ask questions, it's not always negative, but if people come to you in a negative manner and you respond to them positively, it's going to stick with them because people are used to getting that negative reaction back. So no matter what the circumstance, we push with her to use it as a teaching tool for them and for her.
Yeah.
And it's taught her to be a good advocate.
Absolutely, I would imagine so. And you know, I'm sure it varies between adult and child, the reaction that she might get. For anybody who doesn't know and isn't aware, what is the handle that you use on Instagram for Cora and yourself?
The little Lymphy.
So if you have the time, pop on over so that you can understand what we're exactly talking about in relation to the visible signs of Cora's evidence of having lymphedema. The cat wants in. That's amazing. We're not getting any audio, so so what do you think have been those best daily practices that you've instilled in Cora to make sure that self-care is kind of normalized for her?
We've done so since, I apologize.
No worries.
We know and we've learned since birth that lymphedema is something that takes 24-hour compliance. It's 24/7. I mean, you can't skip. But what works for us doesn't always work for others. But we found the most success in just normalizing it and incorporating it throughout the day. It might not be as structured routine as we used to have it, like pumping at noon, but we always try to fit in MLD, taping, I try to make it fun. We'll do it outside. We have a variety of tools that we use, and we are just always pulling from that basket and making sure that we're remaining compliant throughout the day.
Okay. And I'm sure the time that we're in right now is maybe proving to be a little bit more challenging than normal because there's less structure that you might have normally had.
It is a lot more difficult. We're used to a very strict routine with the daycare, and now that she doesn't have her friends here, it's been harder. Like, it's 8 o'clock here right now, and she's still sleeping because she was playing so hard last night. So it's a little different. It's kind of like spring break for her or summer break all the time. So we just, I'm enjoying it and taking it as a chance to just teach her how to use these tools when she can, but making sure she uses them every day.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure she's missing the social aspect of the interaction with the other kids, right?
Yes.
Because that also helps with that normalcy.
Yes, and it's been difficult for her. At first, she thought it might have been her fault, but we've been working on it. This cat just wants her love. This is Cora's best friend.
So, what do you think in all of this experience has been the hardest experience with dealing with Cora's illness and all that's brought to you?
The hardest for us, and I thought about it more last night, would be getting places throughout her medical journey.
Okay.
It has not been easy. A lot of advocacy, a lot of pushing, and a lot of footwork on our behalf. But then also lately, no matter what we do and use for her, she's having increased complications. And it's hard because we have to really weigh the quality of life and her compliance. Right. When she's affected in all 4 limbs and it's essentially in her entire body, it weighs on a mom's my conscience. What we don't do now will affect her in her future and her progression. Right. And it's very difficult for us because I always think in my head, well, she's not wearing her garments right now. How much worse is this going to make it for her? Or she doesn't have all of her bandaging on right now. It's almost like a constant guilt, but at the same time, I want her to have a quality childhood. I don't want her to think back at all the time she couldn't play or she couldn't do things because she's wrapped up like a mummy. So we make sure that we're doing what we can and we're remaining compliant and teaching her the tools and really just normalizing it and making it her own. But at the same time, trying to show her that you can be a little relaxed when you need to be, and you can enjoy life. That's what's important to me. I want her to enjoy life.
I think that's amazing because I think most parents probably would just be in that regimented mode of we have to be compliant, everything has to be. And I think it's, it's very difficult. We can't imagine as adults what it's like to be a child experiencing this.
Yes.
Being an adult and dealing with it, you can force yourself to be a little bit more compliant. But when a child just wants freedom and they don't understand all the deeper complications yet of what and the reasoning behind why they need to do all of these things, I think that's extra challenging. And then it puts more pressure on you because then you've got to try and be more understanding and more forgiving and more, accessible for those highs and lows of emotion that they're going to go through. What do you think, about sharing your experience? Being our own best advocate is probably the best thing we can always tell each other, right? Is to say, you've got to be your own champion. What do you think that experience of you sharing Cora's journey has been thus far, and where do you see it going?
I don't know. In a sense, I think it's the best thing that could have, what we've gone through, I'm grateful for in a sense, because we've been through so much and been able to try so much. I think sharing is huge because we've been through so many unique situations. And I think it's the most incredible thing you can do as a person to share that, because that's one more thing and one more piece of advice you can give to somebody else struggling who might be running out of answers as well. And it's it's so complicated of a condition, and we're all so different, that it's huge, and it's incredibly important to share these experiences, because it can change the life of somebody. It really can, and we've learned that.
Yeah,
Or inspire
I think
somebody, even without lymphedema. I mean,
absolutely. And I think you'll probably see more of that, and especially because she is a child, that is an inspiring thing for someone who is maybe not being compliant, maybe is challenged about living through their day, and then can look and go, but this little girl is powering through her days, enabled by her parents to be able to be just a normalized, average child out there experiencing life. So huge kudos to you for being able to empower her with that, because, you know, as a woman, we also know there's those barriers that we face. They have not equalized. So to empower her with what most people would perceive as an encumbrance, right? I think we think, okay, we've got this disease now, I've got to carry this baggage around with me. Yes, it's challenging, but if we can enlighten those days and learn how to live it with more positivity and more joy, embrace it and make it a plus, not a minus, you know, we're all human. We have those moments where those times become a little tough and a little challenging, right?
We have many of those.
Challenging times right now, but to be able to, you know, take that and turn it into a positive. I always have said, you know, in my own personal journey, that I don't embrace the word fighter, because I didn't want to have that negative energy. Not that I express anybody else to not use that word, but for me personally, I didn't want to invite that negative into me. I just wanted to try and keep as much positive going, because I knew that powerful intent, that positive forward motion is where you need to try and stay the most in, right?
Yes.
I think that's something that's so hard to translate to some people. So, you know, the visual, I think, is why I think Instagram is being great for us being able to share these stories. It's got a high visibility. We're able to tell micro stories in a single post and give that exposure where we couldn't give it before. You know, we don't have to worry about being on YouTube and creating a video. We don't have to be having a website. We don't have to have, we can just have single images that speak volumes for us.
It's easy. It's easier for people to look at. It really is. And it's simpler, because in this day and age, people are so active and busy. It's something that catches your eye and then can really make your day too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So what do you think your best tools of defense are for Cora's care? You know, you've got a lot to deal with all the different issues that are starting to come up for her. So what do you think are your best tools?
My best tools are honesty. I always tell Cora I will not lie to her. So I really do present things in an age appropriate way, but I'm very real with her, and she knows this. Community is huge for us. Sometimes when she is struggling, we will go on things like Instagram, and we look at other people with lymphedema, other children. We talk about, hey, look at her pretty dress and how she's matching with their stocking, and that's big for us. Rewards. That's big with compliance and everything, but the positivity, we talk a lot. We really do. We really talk about our emotions, and I work with her on expressing herself, because that's huge. She needs to know that she has people she can go to. And I even tell her, if it's not mommy or daddy, she has people and friends out there who are willing and who know what she's going through. And that's always big to me, is finding that community and those resources for her, and building up that team so she doesn't feel alone when she gets older, because it's not always going to be mom she's going to want to run to.
No, of course not. That's the progression, right? Is any person is going to age, their source of info, their source of comfort is going to evolve. And building in good peers is an amazing thing to be able to do at this age already, to be able to say that there are others out there that she will be able to reach out to. I think a lot of people feel like they're alone. And
Oh,
I know
yes.
that, especially when we see children with lymphedema, we're not seeing it. And we understand that, there's a privacy issue, there's a protectiveness.
Oh,
But
yeah.
in the same breath, when you're wanting to be an advocate for the disease, for
Mm-hmm.
understanding, it's hard to stay in the shadows and yet expect that understanding to be there if you're not
You
willing to
can't.
be part of the conversation.
Yes.
And by no means do I mean to offend anyone who might be listening, that we're not saying don't do what you want, but know that there are others out there. Know that you're not
Yes.
alone. Know that there are ways to reach out. And in this age of technology, there's amazing ways. I know in my own experience, I've met so many people from around the world, excited to talk to people, even though we may not understand everything we say to each other.
Yes.
But that picture is worth 1,000 words.
Google Translate. That's my friend.
Whatever works to be able to make that communication go. But when you see a heart on your Instagram post, that it's reached them, and vice versa. That heart is a universal language. So it's very easy to share that. And we just want people to know that there are people out there who may be experiencing the same thing they are, or something similar. But like you said, just for inspiration, to see a happy smile, to see an innocent moment where it is enjoyment of the simple things. Those are things that inspire people very easily, right? And it's very easy when you're having a bad day to scroll and find that image that just, resonates with you.